All right, let's jump right in. We're going to go way back in time, like over a century ago, to unpack this legal case that honestly plays out like a modern soap opera. It's got love, it's got denial, secret letters, the whole shebang. And it all boils down to one single unbelievable question. No, seriously, just stop and think about that for a second. Is it possible that you, right now, could be legally married and not even know it? It sounds crazy, right? Well, that is the absolutely wild question at the very heart of this 1909 case, Martinez versus Tan. So here are our two main players. On one side, you've got Rosalia Martinez. She's the plaintiff, and she is adamant. I was never married. I was tricked. But on the other side, you have Angel Tan, the defendant, and he's holding up this official marriage certificate, swearing up and down that they are legally husband and wife. So you've got two people, one official document, and two stories that are just complete opposites. Okay, so first let's look at the case for the marriage. Let's dig into Angel Tan's side of things. And, when you first look at it, his argument seems, well, it seems absolutely airtight. See, the centerpiece of his whole case wasn't just his word against hers. No, he had a formal, honest-to-goodness legal document, a civil marriage record. This thing was signed by a justice of the peace, and this is the really crucial part. It was signed by Rosalia Martinez herself. And the document was super clear. It said they had mutually agreed to enter a contract of marriage. And this wasn't just a piece of paper. To back it all up, Angel brought in witnesses. And I'm not talking one or two people. I'm talking five. Five separate individuals who got up and swore under oath that yes, this marriage ceremony actually happened. I mean, just look at this list. The evidence is just piling up against Rosalia's story. You've got the groom, of course, his witness, and here's the kicker, even her own supposed witness, Pasita Balori. And if that's not enough, the bailiff of the court testified they were all there. And the certificate itself, that carries the official weight of the justice of the peace. The deck was, seriously stacked against her here. So what do you do if you're Rosalia? How on earth do you fight back against all that? Well, let's flip over to her side of the story. Her entire defense, everything, hinged on one single, very powerful claim. She was completely deceived. Okay, so Rosalia admits she signed the paper. That's a fact. But she testified that she never went to the courthouse, never stood before the justice of the peace. Her story is that Angel brought this document to her at her home, and he told her it was just a simple paper to authorize him to ask her parents for their consent. So she signed it, she says, without even reading what it actually was. Now, to back this up, her sister-in-law gets up to testify. She says Rosalia was basically always chaperoned. She never left the house alone, so no opportunity to sneak off and get married, right? But this is where her alibi starts to fall apart. Under cross-examination, the sister-in-law has to admit that, well, actually, Rosalia did go to school by herself and a church by herself. It's a small crack maybe, but it's a crack in her story, and it's enough to plant a seed of doubt. So let's just hit pause right here. What do we have? On one side, you've got an official document and 5 people swearing it's real. On the other, you have one woman's word that she was tricked, and her alibi has some holes in it. If you're on the jury, who are you believing at this point? Okay, so just when it's looking like a classic he said, she said situation, the trial takes this huge, dramatic turn. A brand new piece of evidence gets introduced, and believe me, it is going to change everything. And here's the thing. The most damning evidence, the piece that would totally seal Rosalia's fate, it didn't come from a witness. It didn't come from some legal expert. It came from Rosalia herself. It was written in her very own handwriting. They found a series of secret letters she had sent to Angel. In one of them, written on the very morning of the supposed marriage, she writes, "Arrange everything, as I shall go there only for the purpose of signing, and have Pasita wait for me at the Chinese store." This lines up perfectly with what her witness, Pasita, said about meeting at a specific store so they could sneak off to the courthouse. This isn't the letter of someone being tricked. This is the letter of someone who is in on the plan. So you have to ask, why all the secrecy? Why the big production? Well, another letter gives us a motive that is just crystal clear. She was absolutely terrified of her father. She writes, flat out, that if her father finds out they've been married civilly, she's sure he will turn her out of the house. And just like that, her denial makes a different kind of sense. It wasn't about whether the marriage happened, it was about hiding it from her family. And look, if there was any doubt left in anyone's mind, this next part is the smoking gun. In a letter to Angel about how to talk to her mother, she literally writes, "Don't tell her that we have been civilly married. I don't like her to know today that we have been at the courthouse." It's right there, in black and white. She admits it. She admits to being at the courthouse. It's an undeniable confession. You can probably guess what happened next. With those letters out in the open, the case was pretty much over. The court now had the witnesses, the official document, and a confession from Rosalia herself. So let's see how they wrapped this all up in their final judgment.
Yeah, not surprisingly, the Supreme Court of the Philippines sided with the lower court's decision. They ruled in favor of Angel Tan. The marriage, they declared, that took place on September 25th, 1907, was real, and it was legally valid.
So you might be wondering, how could it be valid if it was all so rushed and secretive? Well, the court pointed directly to the law at the time, and it was surprisingly simple. All you had to do was declare, in front of the official, that you take each other as husband and wife. That's it. No particular words, no big fancy ceremony required. And the court basically laid it out step by step. They said, look, 1, they both signed a petition saying they wanted to get married. 2, they showed up in person before the justice and confirmed what was in that petition. The court said that by doing that, they were, for all intents and purposes, declaring that they took each other as husband and wife. And 3, that signed, official certificate creates a powerful legal assumption that the justice did his job correctly. Case closed. You know, in the end, it was Rosalia's own words she thought were private, that became the public record that defined her life. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? A century later, in our world of texts and emails and DMs, what undeniable story is our own writing telling about us?